Well, that's it. That's our new thing that we're doing, so we know, we're starting.
You
That
mean
way we
like
don't.
you mean like an intro? I
Yeah,
think they call that intro.
if that's the word
We
that
have
you
like
want
an
to
opening
use.
now. We have like an opening. We're
There's
all fucking
there's the starting soon, and then there's the title screen. Can you guys hear
right.
V, by the way, before we get going on this and have a whole situation like last time?
Yeah, we don't want J-Rab showing up anytime this show.
Um, did you want to like? Well, let's start off with this, V. Let's talk about your week. Do you have anything lined up for to talk about for the duologue,
Well,
or
I mean, just something small. I actually, and I don't remember. I don't know if you, I don't know if I ever talked about this, but there was a time when I was doing this thing called intermittent fasting. Did I ever tell you about that? I don't know.
I
I don't know.
have never heard those words put together in
I
my
didn't think
life.
so. So, anyways, so I used to do this intermittent fasting thing, and I lost a lot of weight. Well, I haven't been doing it, and I put on all this weight. I put it all on, back on, like horribly. And so now I'm supposed to go visit Sharon out in Taiwan in July,
Visit
and
who?
I'm Sharon.
Staring.
Sharon. I'm going to visit her in July for her birthday, which is the 4th of July. Fucking awesome, right? Um, and I'm like a fucking wet. I'm like this soggy around the midsection, like disgusting human being. Like how am I gonna go to her looking like this? Like, look at me, dude. I've been sitting in one spot for like months at a time,
You make me
like doing
sick.
nothing and like ordering DoorDash, like every meal, like literally every meal. So now I have this thing, I have this goal, like I gotta, lose some weight because I don't want to show up and her go, oh well, you're kind of gross, dude. You know what I mean? Because that's the last thing I need. I found this awesome chick, and I
Have you
can't
not
ruin it.
sent her like total nude, full body nude
No,
pictures?
I would never. I would never. Yeah, that would be a bad idea. I would never do that to anybody. That would be a horrible thing. I don't know why people like receiving nudes of men, even men. It seems like you'd be grossed out. Like, dude, like, don't you shave or like,
I'm
you know.
gonna let you in on a secret, V. I don't think anybody likes receiving nude pictures of men or dick pics, right? No, I don't think I've ever heard of a woman saying, hey, you know what? Shoot me one of them dick pics. Shoot me a picture of your wiener. Like, not once has that ever been uttered by an actual woman. Now, I will say probably there is a fair amount of in the gay community, uh, but then also like the tranny community, which is also gay,
Oh,
but like I'm sure a lot of those folks are like that should be a giveaway, right? Like if you think a chick is catfishing you and she asks you to send a dick pic, you can go ahead and chalk that one up as that's probably a dude
yeah.
because no woman ever has wanted a dick picture. And I saw a chart one time. It was the supply and demand curve of like how dick pics are like mean, like they're totally worthless because the supply is like so high, but the demand is so low. So it's this inverse supply and demand graph and chart of dick
Mhm.
pics. So
Right. Yeah.
that should be taught in business school. That should
Yeah.
be like the gold standard of explaining the supply and demand curve
Sure.
by using dick pics.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
agree. Yeah, definitely.
but yeah,
I also think that like there's a method to avoiding ever having to send dick pics. And I've heard of this, I've never done it myself, but if you want to have to like be able to stop sending dick pics, like maybe you have a chick out there that just wants you to keep sending her dick pics. So this is what you do. You don't shave at all. Like you don't manscape for like ever, right? And then the next time that you take a dick pic for her, you go to like your garage or like some cool area where it's like kind of cold, like chilly,
right.
and like you ensure that that peen of yours is just shriveled up to like the smallest that it can be. I know some of you, like myself, it might be a task, but you wait till it looks like a little turtle in a fur coat, and that's when you send it. And then they're just appalled because they can't figure out what it is. They just see this like mushroom amidst like a forest of pews. That's how you do it. If you want to have to stop sending dick pics, I'm sure there's other methods, but it's my understanding that one's tried and true.
I have to like I have to take this whole conversation back, right? And I have to like
Yeah.
from my perspective, I'm like, how are you in a position to where like you're having to fight women? No, you cannot see my penis. Get away from me. You know, like you're that guy who's so appealing. For, at least in a long distance scenario, because like if you were closest, nobody sends dick pics to somebody they know like in the local area, because you're like, well, why don't you just come look at it, or I'll just come show it to you, or whatever. You know, like this has to
Yeah.
be a long distance thing, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're over here like with like on the internet, you're so appealing to these internet broads that they're like, I need all of you, or I need all of your dick pics, V. And they're just like swooning over you, digitally swooning over you, wanting to see this wiener. And you're having to like purposely make yourself look disgusting so that they'll stop begging you for dick pics. And it's not like, oh, no, you know, I don't do that. And then they're like, still, they're fighting for it. But it's to the point where you have to literally scare them away. You've reached this new height of what we all aspire to be as men, I think. So you have to share your secrets with us.
Well, I wasn't talking about me specifically.
Oh,
I,
this
I
is
don't.
just in general.
Yeah, it's just in general. Somebody told it to me once. It's just a tried and true method. It's not something I'd ever had to. I don't. I think maybe one girl in my life has ever asked for a dick pic, and I even denied her. I was like, not right now. Not right now. Now's a bad time.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm just not in the mood. I have a headache.
Yeah, it's not a good
I had
time.
a big
Yeah,
dinner, you know.
yeah. I've been soaking in the tub all day. All day.
How do you turn down a woman who won't take no for an answer when it comes to dick pics? Like, what are your good excuses? You know, like women are like the stereotype or the jokes about like when a chick turns you down for a date, she's like, oh, I gotta wash my hair,
Yeah.
or like when they turn you down for sex, they're like, oh, I got a headache, or you know, I ate a big meal. Like, what are like reasonable excuses for turning down a woman who just won't take no for an answer for dick pics?
Right away, manscape. I haven't
Oh,
manscaped.
I haven't cleaned up down there.
Like
Yeah.
myself personally, like I get bushy down there, so I know everybody in the audience appreciates the thought of my bush. But yeah, that's the first one I'd go to. I'd be like, I haven't manscaped. You'll be terrified if you see it. It'll scare you away.
Why is
Yeah.
it pubes only grow to a certain length, by the way? Have you noticed that? Like, they'll just stop growing at a certain point. Do you
I
have
don't know.
that?
Mine's like steel wool. I can't tell how long it is. It's
You
just
have to
like this
straighten it.
like mangled, like freaking, curly mess,
It's like a
I
Brillo
like,
pad.
yeah, it's something that I have to do, like manscape. Yeah.
So you have an afro for...
Yeah. It's kind of well, it's not like, what do you call it?
Describe your bush
Afri
for us, V.
African. It's not like I can't comb it if that's what I can't braid it and like put it in like, little
You don't put them
pigtails
in
or
cornrows.
although pigtails would be hilarious. You do the pigtail one on each side, right? And
Yeah.
then
And braid
the
them
second,
going down on either
yeah,
side. So it looks like
yeah.
an elephant with pigtails.
I have always wanted to do like because I've got enough down there to where I could do like a symbol, like a lightning
Hmm.
bolt or something. I have always wanted to do that, but every time I get down there to shave, it's like scary as shit. Like it's the scariest thing to me.
Yeah, you
Like,
got to be careful.
yeah, I
How
can't. I'm
far
not
do
good at.
you... How far do you go? Like when you're shaving your bush, right? Because I've heard a lot of different methods, right? You know, you've got guys who will go full skin, and that apparently is a no-no now. Like you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to go full skin, like shave with a, you're not supposed to bick your bush.
Yeah.
But that's what I do. I'm a big fan of that. But it's funny because I have really furry legs. Well, you know this. Like I have really furry legs, so it goes from like skin to just like big bushy leg hair, and almost like it would look like if I wore a Speedo, it would just look like I have a good flow from bush to
Are you
leg hair.
telling me that you do the Brazilian? You do like a
I do.
Brazilian?
Yeah. I'm full shape, and that's
Really?
where I was going to go with this. I had more questions. Uh,
Brazilian.
where where no, I need help. I need guidance. Okay, because that's apparently people have said no, you can't do that anymore. No girl wants the bush, or they don't want the skin, but they also don't
Yeah.
want the big '70s bush. So you kind of got to find that happy medium. But for me, I wonder before I make this commitment, this change, do you still shave, the balls, and how far under and behind the balls do you shave? Like,
It's
what's the
tough to get
rule
the ball.
there?
It's tough to get the balls. I can't believe this is our topic now. Like this is what we're
Well,
talking about. It
it's
just
gonna get
happened.
worse,
Talk about
right?
how methods to shave your balls. I do a trim. Like I'm actually my whole body I usually take down to a one because I get like arm hair. Like I have all these tattoos. See, like I have tattoos. But if I don't fucking shave my arms, you can't even see them because I'm like a goddamn gorilla or something. It's like ridiculous, right? And then, my face and my head, I all shave down to a one too. So I just figure it all lines up if I do my balls a one too. Well, I don't do my balls. I do because it's not your balls that gets as hairy as that area. Like, why does hair grow there? It doesn't make sense, right? Like, assuming that like
I know the
nature,
answer to this question.
right? Like, it has to do with nature. Like when we walked around naked, like that was existed to protect us, right, or something. I'm assuming it had to be something like
It's
that. But no,
actually the answer to your question is we have hair down there to mask our scent and mask the smell. uh, and that's
yeah,
why like a lot of you get it in your armpits. Dudes smell worse when we sweat, right? So
come on,
dudes end
cheek.
up with a lot of hair, especially on your butt. And
Oh yeah,
so
I didn't
I
want to
mean,
talk about that.
it's designed to mask your now whether it's like an appeal issue where you're like trying to attract a mate and that in nature didn't want you to smell bad, or if it's a to mask your scent for hunting purposes, which is why women, the gatherers who traditionally stayed back in the in caveman type society, that sort of thing, they stayed back and they did a lot of the around the camp and around the tribe shit. They didn't have to worry about wild animals being able to smell them, but men did because they were the hunters. And so I don't know if it's supposed to be a smell issue. So if it's for appeal, um,
Yeah.
or if it's for masking your scent for hunting purposes, I don't know. But
So,
maybe a
so
combination of
by
both.
that logic, wouldn't your dick smell all the time if you shaved it all the time? Like, wouldn't your dick smell all the time?
So again, it goes back to that was a time where hygiene wasn't exactly something that was easy to come by. And now, I mean, hygiene, we shower daily, right? And if
Well,
you,
some
yeah,
of us
well,
do.
some of us do, right? And so it's a non-issue. And if you, as long as you're not down there, I mean, these were dudes that had their stuff hanging out and just exposed to the elements and all that. And so it's like a germ factory down there. And naturally, it is a germ factory. However, we do a better job of keeping ourselves clean than our ancestors did. So no longer is hair really needed in that regard. But that's how it is, man. That's the answer to your question. So
Yeah.
so shaving the balls is not necessary either. You just do. You said you don't shave the balls.
Well, okay, the actual balls, if we're getting back to that,
Yeah,
the
let's go
actual
back to that.
balls, that's a tough spot, right? Like, okay, let's
Oh yeah.
break it down. Like, you have to like stretch your ball skin
Yep.
to like shave. If you want to use a razor, you have to stretch your ball skin, and you're running a risk, like putting a razor that close to like
Mm-hmm.
that area. Let's be honest. I had when I was in Afghanistan, one of my buddies, Doc Evans, he once came to me with this story about this girl that came to the med station because she had cut herself down there from shaving.
Mm-hmm.
And she was all freaking out, right? Bleeding everywhere. And apparently it wasn't that bad, but he really just told me the story because he was like, I got to see her cooter, dude,
It was
which is awesome. Which is
most
awesome.
yeah
But
most women in the military though are train wrecks, so it probably wasn't even that interesting.
yeah, no, it's not something you've seen before or haven't seen before, of course. But getting back to the stretching of the ball skin, you've got to do that, right? So I've found that an easier method is because it's not usually like you don't get a bush on your balls. You just get like scragglers, right? Like I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I don't know if you have like a bush on your balls, but that's
No.
not natural. That might be something you need to get looked at. So you just get the stragglers with like clippers from a distance. That's what I do, like from a safe distance.
Mm.
That's how I do it. Because
All
I
right.
get, man, I'm hairy as fuck. So if you need advice for taking care of your unwanted hair, the only thing, like, here's my logic. Like, this is why I need to get married. Like, marriage is on the horizon, is because I'm starting to get like back hair, and this is where it gets gross, dude. Like, I can't reach some of the back hair, and it'll bother me like crazy. Like, I need to pull it out. It's like, I don't know, like a obsession or neurosis or something. What do you call that? OCD or neurotic, right? Like, I'll try to pull out like a straggler, like hair on my back. Like, gross, I know, but that's what you need other people in life for, is like to be able to do that for you. So hopefully Sharon, one day will be at that point in our relationship where she'll go, do you need me to, take care of the back hairs that you have? And I'll know, I'll know. Oh yeah, sorry. Guys. For a while.
I changed the
Oh,
picture
I
earlier.
see. Yeah, Republican candidate for mayor.
Yep, that's me.
Oh, nice.
And well, because now we don't hide what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike said to use a Bic lighter. That's a good way to do it. If it just, I guess it really depends. But you're right. Yeah, you do have to. You know what I do is I use the testicle itself as like a support, kind of like when you're writing on something. You can't
That
just,
seems very dangerous. That's like you live on the edge, man. You're
well,
like,
you know, and what you should do is use a straight razor too. If you're really trying to live on the edge, like if you want to play a dangerous game, do it with a straight edge or a straight razor, and use the testicle itself as a surface to shave on. But yeah, that's
yes, man.
that's what do they call it on NPR? Rules to live by, or tips to live by. We've given you
So,
guys your weekly dose of useful information.
so very, very specific testicle grooming aside, what was it that you had? Didn't you have something?
Yeah, I wanted to play this game, right? And we kind of
Oh,
have to explain the game to people, right? Because I don't know how many people have ever heard of the Aristocrats, and
oh yeah, yeah. It's rare that people are aware of it. I think more comedians or people
yeah.
that have like background in it know it.
So it's stuff for guys like us who are trying to hone our craft and being funny. Granted, we're not doing a very good job, but we do study comedy and that sort of stuff. And I posted something last night. It was a last minute thing, and because there was an article, or it was like a picture that somebody had posted saying there are certain things that you don't joke about. All right. It said, and here are the things that you're not supposed to joke about. These are kind of like what is it, the 7 or 8 words that you're not supposed to say on TV, or that you can't say on TV. This is kind of like, these are the things that you can't joke about. And what's funny is on this list from, and again, I don't remember who it was, but it was one of those like um, ACLU, SCLU, those guys who care
Yeah,
about that
good.
shit. Uh,
Yeah.
and the LGBT community is LGBTP community. They had posted a thing with all the things you're not supposed to joke about, and nowhere on there did it specifically say 9/11. So I think we're good. We can continue on making our jokes about 9/11. The time has passed, and time plus tragedy equals comedy. But the list was the things that you're not supposed to joke about: a fake COVID test, suicide or death, fake pregnancy or miscarriage, sexual or physical abuse, loss of a job, fake financial crisis, cheating, mental health disorder, or serious illness, for example, cancer. And
Those are all so funny to me.
right, and so
Yeah, I'm
because
already thinking
those are the things you can't joke about, right? And by
of
making it taboo, it makes it funnier because then
that. You
you're gonna piss somebody off, right?
you know what they should have called that list? The stuff that we joke about all the time.
Right, right. These are all the exact things that we will work into a joke. Not necessarily build a joke around it, but it's something that goes into the joke because it's going to, as long as you have one person in the group that you're joking with going, no, come on, and they get real
That makes it better, yeah.
right, that's when you hit a home run on a joke. And then, but everybody else will be laughing. Some people, the groaners, that's where we excel.
Yeah.
And so I had posted a thing saying, hey, make jokes. It doesn't have to be about all of them at one time. It can be about one of the jokes. Just like dead baby jokes were always like extremely funny because you're not allowed to joke about them. And so dead baby jokes became very funny. And then when you make jokes, I mean, we make jokes about HIV and AIDS all the time, and that's right there on the list. And those are the things, I think that's what makes the joke funnier. So I said, if you can write a joke specifically about any one of these topics and send it to us, we'll read it no matter how tasteless it is. And only one person took us up on the offer, and a big regular fan of the show, Jake Hoob, and he sent it to me. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm letting it be a surprise. But V and I came up with this idea based on the Aristocrats. Now, what the Aristocrats is old comedians do this trick, or they do this joke, and it's not funny is the thing. Like, the joke is it's not funny. It's designed to be the absolute most offensive thing you'll ever hear. And the idea is, on the fly, you have to come up with a story, and the story is centered around and I encourage you to look this up to make sure to prove that I'm not making it up, because it's going to sound like I'm making it up. It centers around this guy comes in to pitch a show to a talent, or a producer, and he says, hey, I got this show that I do with my family, and I really want to see if you guys are willing to show it, or maybe create something based off of it, and let us perform it. And the guy says, the producer says, okay, yeah, sure, what's it about? And then you have to do this whole story, right, and incorporate the following things. There's a dad, a mom, a son, a daughter, and a baby. And in that team in that family, you have to incorporate, and I forget the official words for it, but basically piss, shit, vomit, ejaculate, some kind of incest, sex, violence, and am I forgetting anything?
I think that's it. I mean, wasn't rape one of them too?
Rape, well, yeah, rape. I mean, it goes so the forced incestual sex, because that's what it ends up being, is because you have to talk about how your guy is fucking your kid or whatever, and or the brother and sister are having sex, or the baby, and then at the end of it, when it's all said and done, and everyone's covered in blood, guts, vomit, shit, ejaculate, urine, and the stage is just disgusting and foul, as gross as you can make it, the guy says, whoa, okay, so what do you call this? And what do you call this act? And then you say, Aristocrats. And you have to do the flair, the Aristocrats. And that's the whole joke. And the idea is to offend everybody and to do it. And Bob Saget is the one. If you look up Bob Saget doing the Aristocrats, he's kind of, again, I hate to use this description twice in one duologue, but he is the gold standard for the Aristocrats joke. And yeah, and Mike says you could call it Life as a Biden. But that's the whole. So that was the idea that we created around this list of jokes that you can't tell. You have to work every single one of them into this joke, and it would go something like this. Do you want me to go first, V?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
I've been waiting on edge for you to go. That's all this build up that we're getting to here.
Well, I had to do the Aristocrats explanation first, otherwise people would be like, what the fuck? Like, how tasteless, how disgusting is this?
Yeah.
So you have to work in every single one of these, and we've created the framing stuff. So, you show up at, so I show up at the job interview. I was called in for a job interview, and the interviewer says, he sees me walk in. He says, "Hey, have a seat. Hey, my name's Jim. Have a seat. And how was your morning been?" And so I look at him and I say, well, you're not going to believe what happened to me this morning. Well, I started last night when, I was getting ready for bed, and my wife, I look at her and I say, something's off with her, right? And I kind of sneak into the bed, and I start trying to do my seductive moves to try to get her into the mood. And she's not really into it. She's not really I see you already laughing, so I'm like, I gotta like cover your screen or something. She's not really into it. She's not, but that's not gonna stop me, right? So I spit in my hand, right? Despite the fact that I had just gotten a COVID vaccine, or just gotten the COVID test. I had just gotten the COVID test and came back positive. So it turns out I actually had COVID. Spit in my hand, and I slather her up down there, and I start going to town. All right? And before I know it, I finish, I pull out, my kid walks in the room. I won't do the kid stuff, because that's not a requirement, right? I pull out, I roll over, and it's, I notice she's very cold, right? I'm like, whatever. So I go to sleep, wake up the next morning, there's blood all over the sheets, and I pull the sheets off, and I see there's blood everywhere. There's like a fetus, like in between her legs, just lying on the sheets. It's disgusting, horrible sight. Look at her, I can see her veins. She's kind of like a purple color, right? And then I look, and I'm wondering, like, what happened to her? What on earth happened? Like, I thought she was awake during the whole thing last night. Apparently not. I look at her wrist, blood. She cut her wrist, right? And she's bleeding all over the bed. Well, not bleeding anymore, mind you. But she ends up, I get up out of bed, go clean off, right? Because I'm covered in blood, placenta, God knows what else, semen, and COVID all over my hands and all over my dick, and it's just a sight. It's a horrible sight. I get up, go clean off. I figure I'm gonna have one more go around. I decide her mouth's wide open. Spit in my hand once again. Spit in her mouth, and then I use her mouth right one last time. And then I get a call from I'm trying to look at the list to make sure I'm hitting them all. Somebody's left the stream already. So naturally I use her mouth one last time, get a phone call on my way out the door. It turns out my boss had video footage of me and the chick at work who actually works in my department. Me and her, we're in the back room, right, spitting COVID in each other's mouth and all over each other, and purposely spitting in people's coffee. I like the I can't do it anymore.
Oh.
And then he goes at the end of it all, and then I walk in the door and I'm here for the interview, and he says, "All right, well, so what was your last employment?" "You had me at Bigfoot," right? So that's the end of the joke. So that joke is very difficult to do with you making this face on the other screen.
This one where I'm like,
awful.
Yeah.
All right, so your turn, V. Go ahead.
I can't top that. There's no way I could top that. I could craft a joke together from that, but I don't even think it would be the Aristocrats joke. It would be like a guy walks into a bar and then tells the story of how he went to some house for dinner and the baby was in the baby chair and and the baby turns out to be actually just a midget that looks like a baby, and then the baby like starts beating up the dad of the dinner party, just starts wailing on him, and like till he's a bloody pulp, right? And this guy, the guy that's at the bar, is freaking out, and the baby turns over the dad and just starts plowing into him, like raping him. Like this midget baby is just raping this dude like crazy. And the guy that's there at the dinner party doesn't know what's going on. He tells the baby, he says, "What are you doing? You can't just rape some dead guy now." And the baby, he says, "Well, how else are you supposed to have sex with someone that doesn't want it?" And I know that's not a Aristocrats joke, but I crafted together jokes and stories that I knew to create a joke just on the fly. Does that count? Sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah, we'll let it count. That reminds me of that.
Because how else supposed to have sex with someone who doesn't want it?
That reminds me of those jokes that are like the one or two sentences that just get exponentially worse as the joke goes on, and it's like, it's like, oh, I was fucking my girlfriend, and it started to smell a lot like my grandma, and yeah, like, and I forget how they go, and then no, anyways, fuck it. I'm not gonna sit here and try to do it justice, but
baby. I thought about it beforehand when you started talking about scenarios where people were like raping. I thought, well, what would be the funniest scenario of a rapist, right? Is probably the baby raping somebody would probably be the best, the most funny because of the incongruity, right? Like you wouldn't expect a baby to get out of his baby chair and just start raping the dad. Like that's ridiculous. That's just unheard of. So that was where
I'm trying to find this picture or this one line joke or whatever.
You're looking for a joke?
No, I'm looking for that one that I'm referring to where it's like the one liner jokes. Here we go. Oh, come on. These are terrible. All right, I just pulled up the thing. I was trying to find the one that I was talking about.
Crossed over the line before. The reason why this works on our show is because we're constantly crossing that line, and it's not something new. We had a show where we talked about fisting dead, but what is it, munge, right? Fisting dead bodies.
No,
it's awful. It's an awful thing to talk about.
Somebody has to be blowing the dead body, and then like another person elbow drops the dead body and shoots out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it says. Did you hear about the child with AIDS?
No, I did not.
It never gets old. I own an abortion clinic called Don't Kid Yourself. Burn victims tend to stick together. My dad used to always warn me about anal. He would say, "Now, son, this may hurt a bit." Some people prefer their women young and tender. I prefer.
What is it?
I try to read them without like screening them, right? And so this one was one of them. Some people prefer their women young and tender. I prefer mine 10 and younger.
Jesus.
Oh man. What's Al Qaeda's favorite football team? The New York Jets.
That's a good one. I like that one.
What do Princess Diana and Pink Floyd have in common? Their last big hit was The Wall.
That's like my Kurt Cobain joke. The one is he had blue eyes. One blue this way, the other blue that. That's pretty good.
What did the leper say to the prostitute?
What?
Keep the tip. Here's another leper one. If you weren't,
joke is great because of the imagery. We're talking about the tip of his penis coming off, and him giving it to her as a gift. That joke works on so many levels. It's hilarious.
You can only do it once, though. He can only do it once, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Here's another leper one in case you didn't get your leper fill. What do you call a leper in a hot bath?
What?
Porridge.
Oh. That's a terrible image. Okay. Here's one. What do you call a gay guy in a wheelchair?
What?
Rolaids. Homo jokes. We went there. We go there.
I think that's probably about it.
All right. Moving right along. You've had your fun and games, dude. You have a show to do. What does mine say? Head of the Egyptian Federation of Labor.
Yeah.
So what? I'm I'm like the Teamster. I'm like the Jimmy Hoffa of the.
No, you're the union boss. You're the union leader.
Isn't that what Jimmy Hoffa was? He was the
I
union
don't
boss.
know. I don't know anything about Jimmy
Come on,
Hoffa.
man. Don't you watch what's that movie with Robert De Niro? And at the end, Joe Pesci, he goes, "Fuck him." Fuck. The
You're talking
Italian,
about
no,
the Irishman.
the Irishman. Yeah, yeah, that's the one.
Why is Irishman not offensive if Chinaman is? Right?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know, because I guess because Chinaman blankets all Asian ethnicities.
Well, not always. What if I just exclusively referred to a Chinese as a Chinaman, and I referred
Well,
to
that's
I don't know,
that's not
Filipino?
racist. That's what they are.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that the argument though? Is that because we use it as a blanket term, that's what makes it racist?
I
Or
mean, I
is
don't know. I do.
and
Although
I'm not.
I
I'm
wouldn't
not
say
going to
it to
sit
my
here.
parents. Kill me.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that I don't do that as a blanket statement. I'm just arguing for the people who are more culturally sensitive. Like they should be allowed to use Chinaman without fear of being. Not like anyone cares. Like I've never actually heard a Chinaman say that they were offended by the term Chinaman. It's always a white person who's offended by the term Chinaman. And they have no right to be.
That's right. That
Oh,
that reminds me of that thing recently. The did we talk about that? I don't know if we talked about that last week. The Speedy Gonzalez cancellation. Did you hear about that?
I did.
They tried to cancel Speedy Gonzalez, the cartoon character from Looney Tunes,
Yep.
who
Well,
which
who doesn't know who Speedy Gonzalez is?
yeah, well, I was going to add my humble brag about knowing the voice actor for Speedy Gonzalez. That we're good friends. We're actually good friends with Tim Dadabo, Tom and I. He's our bud. But they tried to cancel it, so they got rid of Speedy Gonzalez, and then a bunch of like Latino like activists got pissed and made them bring it back because they were like, "Look, dude, we're Hispanic and we love that character. It's like it's their heritage. Like Speedy Gonzalez has been around for decades, dude. It's a part of Hispanic character like heritage. You
That's
know
what
what
I
I mean?
don't get is like the only people who like are being like the only changes that anyone is making is just taking away. Look at the Land O'Lakes, the Aunt Jemima, the Uncle Ben, the Speedy Gonzalez for again using him as an example. But like all these instances of them saying, "Oh, that's racist," the fact that they just don't know the history, right? Like if you would look at the history, Aunt Jemima, she was like the first black business owner in America. So
Yeah, people love Aunt Jemima. Everybody does.
yeah.
It's weird that there's like one specific group of people that are offended by that, and everybody else is like, we love Aunt Jemima. We don't ever think of her in this like, negative aspect that you do. We just love her fucking syrup. It's awesome. Everybody loves Aunt Jemima goddamn syrup. Can we agree on that?
Who would you pick in a fight between Aunt Jemima and Mrs. Buttersworth, though?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Who would you rather? Who would you rather bag?
Buttersworth,
Mrs.
she's a
Butterworth.
little bit thicker. I think Buttersworth probably got more reach, so I'd probably pick Buttersworth.
All right.
But if it was if talking like they're the bottles, like the actual syrup bottles, not the people, then I might, pick different.
All right. I don't know. I can't remember. I remember like I have a vague idea of what they look like. I can't remember.
No, they look exactly the same. It's the same person. Yeah.
It's the same person. Now that's racist. All syrup and pancake people look the same to me.
Everybody gets offended. It's not even like races that are offended. It's like pancake eaters. Like people
the wrong groups got offended. The rice people, they were like, no, get rid of Uncle Ben because he doesn't represent us as rice people. Yeah. It was the Chinaman who did that one. He's like, no. Yeah. Uncle Ben, no rice man. He no rice mascot. All right, yeah, let's move on to the actual show then, I guess, since we're done offending everybody. I think that was probably one of our most offensive bits that we've ever
pretty
done.
Bad.
Even I, like, in the middle of it, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I was so committed to it until I saw, like, viewers dropping, and I'm like, all right, I'll drop it. I'll move on. So what are we talking about today, V?
Oh, we're talking about an episode of DuckTales with the Egyptian.
Egyptos.
DuckTales visit the Was I supposed to have Wikipedia pulled up or something?
You don't need Wikipedia pulled up, I don't think, because
Okay, so I don't have to pretend like I knew what the show was about. I can just do my quips.
yeah,
Is that what you
yeah,
said?
yeah. Well, I mean, I gave you the notes. Did
I
you?
know you did,
You're
and
just not gonna
I
pull them
saw them.
up.
I saw them. Like I opened the file and I was like, oh, this is on my phone, so I can't read this, right?
All right.
And
Well,
I just like put it aside, and I was like, I'll look at it later. And then the show happened, and now we're live, and I'm that asshole. It was just like, totally blew it off, Sanchez. My
well,
bad.
I'm glad. So this is why I'm not gonna send you like the hard the hard work that went into preparing for this episode.
Dude, like as if
From
I don't for not blow it. It's like our fucking our
it's our
signature move.
MO, yeah. It's our modus operandi over here.
Yeah.
Uh, oh yeah, I guess we got to do the shot, and we have to do the intro to the episode, right?
Oh,
Because
good call.
we have all these intros now. We don't know what to do with them. What are
Have
we
you
cheersing to?
asked people in the chat yet? Have you said hi to
No, I
everybody?
haven't
One.
done. We have all this shit that we have to do, and we've just been we totally ignored it. So what are we
Yeah.
cheersing to first?
Uh, it's a good question. I don't know. How about to the Aristocrats
Yeah,
or the
or
crowd?
to the well
Not the Disney.
now it's called the "You Had Me at Bigfoot" joke.
Oh
Now
yeah,
we have our own. We're officially like we're a big deal now. So to the "You Had Me at Bigfoot's" version of the Aristocrats joke
fair enough.
that lost us several followers
Really?
or viewers. Yeah, and then we'll do the hello to Sharon, who was the first one in the chat. Jay Coop, Mike in Manitoba, James Pregler, Megabit, Gary Newman, and and then I Love God is in the chat. Do we need to address that whole situation, V? I know you wanted to talk about something about kind of
We're not white supremacists over here.
yeah.
Although our jokes about races and stuff, like we poke fun at like stereotype. Like the reason why we consider, well, I can't speak for you, although I assume you feel the same way. The reason why I call myself a racist is because I think stereotypes are hilarious. They're so funny to me because they're true and they exist. However, I don't go around like hating races. Like I'm not like brown power or anything like that. Because for those of you that don't know, I am Mexican. That's like my descent. Although I prefer to say American. Like if we're talking, like he, she. What is that called? The fucking pronouns, dude. That whack ass shit. Then I say I'm a fucking American. That's what I am. I'm American. And like skin color, whatever, that doesn't matter. I served in the United States Army as an American, and I'm a veteran, and that's what I am. So I don't take kindly to like white supremacists showing up and like basically talking shit to us, more or less, or trolling us. Who really knows? Um, so, Tom and I had to talk about it. We wanted to make sure that you guys know that that's not our stance. We are, we make fun of things. We're irreverent. That's our sense of humor. We're not hateful individuals. Would you say that sums it up, Tom? Or do you have anything to add?
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between making fun of races and everybody. I mean, we do that here. We make fun of everybody. There's a difference between doing that and then outright hating people. So if I come in and I say, did you hear about the black guy who, I don't know, what was the joke? Did you hear about the blackout last night? Don't worry, we got him. Like if you make racist jokes or whatever like that, that's one thing, right? And that's what we do. And sometimes, and when we do present
It
a
took
lot of
a couple seconds to put that joke together, actually. You meant a black person out and about.
Right. We got him. Don't worry. When you do that, that's fine. That's great. There's no harm in that because that's kind of the thing that we came up with in the Army is like everybody is green. The saying is like everybody's green. So if you like, we would say racist jokes, and that was the thing of like brotherhood. And nobody was really offended because we were all just kind of like, it was funny. But when you come in and you say specifically just are super aggressive in your racism, that's another thing. Also, like if you present factual evidence, I went on this very long tirade last night about how, and it was about black people actually. It was black people need to get their act together because you wouldn't, I don't even remember where the argument. It was like hiring. I used the example of hiring one carpenter who doesn't know how to do carpentry for your team on a job site, and while he's there missing the nail, he shows up late, he's goofing off, he's chatting, he's whatever, wandering off, and like there's this other worker who's just like shit hot, like really helping put this house together, and this other worker just wanders off and does his own thing. He sucks at carpentry. And the way that they bridge that divide is by taking the really good carpenter and breaking his dominant hand, and then moving his tools further away from him, and adding all these new rules to make it so this other worker can't get his job done efficiently. And the example I was trying to portray here, obviously, was this whole affirmative action and the equal opportunity and the lowering the standards for black people to get into college, and raising the standards for Asian people specifically in this case, raising the requirement for the ACT and SAT. And that doesn't solve anything. It just makes it harder for the people who are really good at their job or really good at what they do. And it doesn't really do anything for the people who are lazy other than empower them in their laziness. And so that was the argument I was getting at, and I went on this whole tirade, but I presented it in a way that was fact based. And
I remember you made a point to point out people like Larry Elder and Denzel Washington who came from nothing and like they worked their way up. Just like that's the point, right? Is like you have all these stereotypes and things that are statistical in your group, your ethnic group or whatever. But then you have people, the anomalies, that they manage to get out themselves, and they do their own thing. And like, to me, that's like saying, well, it doesn't matter what color you are. Clearly, these guys can succeed. So that should be enough evidence right there. Like all you got to do is, I like what my favorite line is what Morgan Freeman said, where he said the bus runs every day. Mm-hmm. Like that guy, he was like, what do you say? Remember he was being interviewed? And he was like, what do you say to all these guys that they think, the system is keeping them down? And he was like, bullshit. He said it on like the news. He was like, bullshit. He's like, the bus runs every day. Like, that's such a good phrase because it's true. Like, if you get a bus pass, dude, you can go anywhere and do anything you want that, requires you to work at least, or get you a job or school. I went to school. When I was in college, man, I took the bus every day. I had to make 2 transfers just to get to school. But right there alone, man, that's why like it resonates, because he was like, shit, the bus runs every day, motherfucker. That's me doing Morgan Freeman, being all, shit, bus runs every day, motherfucker.
That's not even what he sounds like, is the thing.
I know.
He's like the most well-spoken black guy, very deep voice or whatever.
Yeah, he is without a doubt.
But yeah, and then my argument that, like, nobody hates the shitty carpenter because their great-grandfather was a shitty carpenter. They hate the carpenter because the carpenter is a shitty carpenter. Like, you present this image and you present this ability, and if you show up and you suck at your job, like, people are going to be pissed at you. Or if you show up and you act a certain way, you behave. It's the same is true for white people. I'm just as critical of white people who show up and are a piece of shit as I am of any race who shows up and is a piece of shit. But these stereotypes, they exist because they're funny, and then some people, they hear all this victimhood nonsense, and then they're like, oh, well, I'm a victim of socioeconomic difficulties, so I can use that to my advantage and be a piece of shit.
They need someone to blame. Yeah, you're right. They need someone to blame. Whether it's the blacks blaming the whites or the whites blaming the Jews, somebody needs someone to blame for their situation, right? Like, that's how I see it. Yeah. You're going, oh, well, these guys, they've been on top forever, and that's why I'm so, discriminated against, or I can't make the dreams in my life happen. I just say that's like, man, pull yourself up by your motherfucking bootstraps and get. I actually told myself the same thing. Remember, I told you I'm doing this stuff with my animation project. I'm moving forward. And I looked at myself. I was like, what are you doing, you asshole? You're not doing nothing right now. Like, you have all this excess income, and you're just sitting here wasting away, gaining fat, which is what happens in our society. Our society specifically. People are so stuck in their comforts and their, like, complacency that they don't want to do shit except just blame everybody else. You know what I mean? Well, I can't get where I want in life because so-and-so or whatever. well, fucking do something about it. You know what I mean? Like, fuck.
Yeah, that's why I posted that thing earlier. I posted that thing earlier. By the way, welcome to the chat, Jordan Davis. I didn't forget you. You just hadn't said anything, so I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
who all's in the chat. I don't know who
What up?
all's there until you say something. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and then Jay Coop says he wants. I need to read his joke because I didn't check Discord. I checked it before the show started. Jake, uh, did you
Jake.
guys did you guys hear about the new really thorough COVID test people are scheduling? V, did you hear about this?
I have not. I have not heard about it.
So apparently the paperwork is called the ass to mouth application. Um, and I heard most of the time, well, hear me out. Let me finish.
All right.
I heard most of the time, that wasn't the punchline. There's more to the show. There's a part two. I heard most of the time the results can actually be pretty shitty. I thought of that. I thought of that retarded kid with the the mud all over his mouth, where it's like, "Wait a minute," or "Wait a minute." That meme.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
When you eat a girl's ass and then she says that she doesn't suck dick. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's predicated on knowing what ass to mouth is too.
Yeah.
Awful.
So awful. And I'll do another shot again because I fucked that up.
All right, fair enough.
All right, I'm done. I'm done with all that.
So where are we at with this Egyptian thing?
I was gonna say, by the way, I posted that thing earlier too on the topic of get your fucking life together. Because every once in a while we do that, right? Where we're like, get your fucking life together. You've got problems.
Appreciate you.
We'll do that right now because it's not everybody has Twitter that watches the show,
right?
Or listens to it. I had posted something along the lines of, it's for all the simps out there, right? And not even just the simps, right? People who are like perpetually in, or consistently in these DMs with chicks, and specifically speaking to the simps, right, who send money to these fucking girls or whatever, and but also to the ones who are like actively engaged, like talking to these girls and wasting and I call it wasting, right, wasting all this time talking to these girls who are not even interested in them, which is not always the case. I understand that some of you really are actively in some kind of relationship with a long distance or long-term person who you're talking to, but I said this as a blanket statement to everybody, and I think everybody can benefit from it, even those people. Before you send another flirty, sexually charged message or, God forbid, money to a girl on the internet, ask yourself two things. Am I ever going to actually have sex with this person? And could this time and or money be better spent literally anywhere else? Right? Because you're sitting there spending all this time focused on like sending messages to this person and really trying to build up this relationship with somebody. Ask yourself, really reflect on like inward, do some, black guy skipping rocks at the lake time,
Yeah.
and determine, am I actually going to reap any benefits from this? Now, at that point, you may realize, well, this person is a friend who I genuinely enjoy talking to, right? But you may also realize, wow, I've been wasting an awful lot of time talking to this person under the assumption that I'm going to eventually get laid, right? And I think specifically, I talked to somebody recently who reached out to me and was asking. I'm not going to say his name, obviously, but they had come to me asking me about advice to talk to this individual, and I said, I don't know. I said I wouldn't, because obviously it seems like you guys are tight, and it seems like he gave me like some background information and stuff, and I had seen some of their interactions, and I'm like, you seem tight, but is that just because that's who she is, or is there actually something there? And like, you have to really think, is this person just being nice to me because that's who they are, or are they being nice to you because you might actually end up getting laid at one point? And this individual was like seriously considering trying to spark this relationship with this person. And I specifically told him, I said, I would think long and hard on this and they just went Leroy Jenkins, full guns blazing, into this like confession of love for this person, and it backfired on them. It did not go over well for them, and I didn't want to be the guy who's like, I told you so. But that sort of stuff, like if that's you and you are in a situation like that where you are actively engaged with somebody in some kind of chat type relationship, ask yourself, is this somebody who I could, and you can substitute the word, is this somebody I'm going to have sex with, to, is this somebody I actually see myself having a legitimate romantic relationship with, or some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, exclusive relationship with, or am I just wasting my time that could be better spent like reading a book or building a garden or playing with my kids. For some of you,
Do you build a garden? Do you build a garden?
Yeah, I call it building a garden, and I think that's a
Yeah,
I think that's a term people
I
use.
think is interesting about this topic that we're talking about here with the simping is that it's interesting to me that women have that power, like over men, like that, like not men like me. I was friend zoned once in high school and never again after that, like never again. Like I was in love with this girl, and like when I finally came clean about it, she was just like, "Nah, I'm cool." And that like from then on, I was like, dude, if I like a chick, I got to tell her right away because if she doesn't like me, I can't wait all this time,
Right.
going, what the shit?
You're
You know what
devoting
I
resources, like your
mean? Yeah.
most important, most valuable resource to this situation.